Assalamu alaikum, this is Maria Zulfikar welcoming you all to the English news from BTV Chattogram. Let's begin with the headlines. Newly appointed Dutch ambassador calls on Chief Advisor Professor Muhammad Yunus. They discuss issues of mutual interest including upcoming polls. Deposit in many banks in increasing trend overcoming declining flow. DGH's issues 12-point directives to government hospitals as dengue cases surge. "47th BCS preliminary examination held in 256 educational institutions across the country. US vetoes UNSC resolution demanding ceasefire in Gaza while Israel expands its offensive on Gaza City. And Bangladesh to kick off Super 4 phase against Sri Lanka in Asia Cup at Dubai International Stadium. Viewers, those were the headlines. Now moving on to the details. Newly appointed ambassador of the Netherlands, Boris van Bommel, paid a courtesy call on Chief Advisor Professor Muhammad Yunus at the guest house Jamuna today. During the meeting, they discussed a range of issues of mutual interest, including strengthening bilateral relations, upcoming general elections, trade and agriculture, and the ongoing Rohingya humanitarian crisis. Chief Advisor Professor Yunus briefed the ambassador on the interim government's preparations to hold a general election in the first half of February, emphasizing steps taken to ensure the polls are free, fair and peaceful. Ambassador Van Bommel reaffirmed his country's support for Bangladesh's democratic transition. The discussion also touched on bilateral cooperation in water management. Professor Yunus recalled how Bangladesh has benefited from Dutch expertise in managing floods and protecting low-lying coastal areas. Ambassador Van Bommel expressed interest in Bangladesh's recent development achievements, including its innovations in social business and microcredit. Professor Yunus appealed for increased Dutch aid to support more than 1 million Rohingyas, citing a significant funding shortfall that threatens ongoing humanitarian efforts. He informed the ambassador of an upcoming high-level international conference on the Rohingya crisis, scheduled for September 30 at the United Nations General Assembly in New York. The chief advisor expressed hope that the event would galvanize international support and help mobilize critical funding for the humanitarian response in the camps. Ambassador Van Bommel acknowledged the urgency of the crisis, stating that the Rohingya issue deserves greater international attention. However, he noted that global focus has been diverted by other ongoing geopolitical conflicts. Senior Secretary and SDG Coordinator of the government, Lamia Morshid, was also present at the meeting. Chief Advisor Professor Muhammad Yunus has congratulated the Bangladesh delegation on the country's re-election to the Council of Administration of the Universal Postal Union (UPU). The election was held in Dubai on Thursday, where Bangladesh secured 97 out of 157 votes, ranking 9th among the 10 elected members. This marks Bangladesh's second consecutive four-year term on the Council of Administration, said a press release issued by Chief Advisor's press wing here today. During its previous tenure, Bangladesh's role was limited, attending only one physical meeting in November 2021 and following the rest of the proceedings virtually, without significant scope for contribution. Concerns had therefore been raised that this lack of engagement could hinder the re-election bid. However, through a concerted diplomatic effort, Bangladesh overcame the challenge. Ambassador Tariq Ahmed, Bangladesh's envoy to the UAE, hailed the outcome as a diplomatic success. Despite allegations of corruption and irregularities in the banking sector, deposits have started to increase in many banks. In just 3 months during the April-June quarter of this year, deposits in banks rose by 73 crore taka, reflecting a growth rate of 3.8%. According to the latest report from Bangladesh Bank, total deposits in the banking sector stood at 19.23 lakh crore taka at the end of March, which increased to 19.96 lakh crore taka by the end of June. Deposits grew more in rural areas than in cities. Growth in urban areas was 3.6%, while in rural areas it was 4.87%. Analysts say that the rise in remittance inflows and the absence of major natural disasters have encouraged rural savings. Banks have also slightly raised interest rates, leading many people to keep their money in banks rather than in hand. Economic analysts believe that along with Bangladesh Bank's timely measures, growing customer confidence is contributing to the increase in bank deposits. They add that if weaker banks can successfully restore trust, the growth trend could strengthen further. 6 more people have died from dengue fever in the past 24 hours, raising the death toll this year to 167. During the same period, 647 new patients were admitted to hospitals with dengue. The total number of dengue cases this year has now crossed 40,000. Meanwhile, the Director General of Health Services has issued 12-point directives to all government hospitals to ensure proper treatment of dengue patients. Dengue patients are receiving treatment at various hospitals in the capital, including the DNCC dedicated hospital. Experts said that climate change, along with warm, humid weather and intermittent rain, has created ideal breeding conditions for Aedes mosquitoes, the carriers of the dengue virus. Health officials are urging people to use mosquito repellents, sleep under nets, and eliminate stagnant water where mosquitoes breed. The 47th BCS preliminary examination has been held. The exam took place today from 10 a.m. to 12 noon simultaneously in 256 educational institutions across 8 divisional cities, including Dhaka. Earlier on September 16, the Public Service Commission issued a notice stating that candidates must enter their respective exam halls by 9:30 a.m. sharp. After that, the gates would be closed and no candidate would be allowed to enter late. A total of 3,74,747 candidates applied to sit for the 47th BCS. According to the notification, there are 3,487 vacant cadre posts and 201 non-cadre posts. From this BCS exam, a total of 3,688 candidates will be recruited, including both cadre and non-cadre positions. Some new posts have also been added in this year's BCS. Now, international news. The Israeli army is mobilizing near the heart of Gaza City, forcing tens of thousands of Palestinians onto coastal roads in a bid to drive them out of the Strip's main urban center. People in besieged Gaza City said about non-stop attacks, including strikes by drones and fighter jets, and blasts from remote-controlled robots. with the Israeli military blowing up entire neighborhoods as it advances. Meanwhile, the United States of America vetoed a crucial United Nations Security Council resolution demanding a ceasefire in Gaza, as Israel expanded its scorched earth offensive on Gaza City. The resolution, approved by 14 of the 15 members of the Council, called for an immediate, unconditional and permanent ceasefire in Gaza, respected by all parties, the release of all captives held by Hamas and other groups, and a lifting of restrictions on humanitarian aid into Gaza. Drafted by the Council's 10 elected members, the resolution went further than previous iterations to highlight what diplomats call the catastrophic humanitarian situation in Gaza after nearly 2 years of war in the Gaza Strip. Israel's war on Gaza has killed at least 65,141 people and wounded 165,925 since October 2023. Thousands more are believed to be buried under the rubble. The Election Commission has urged the government of Nepal to ensure the necessary resources, including the amendment to the Voter Registration Act, to be able to conduct the elections to 275 seats in the House of Representatives with the stipulated time. By November 2, 2025, the number of voters who have reached the age of 18 is projected to reach 18,168,000. Home Minister Om Prakash Aryal held a meeting at the Election Commission in relation to the upcoming elections. Home Minister Aryal suggested the Election Commission plan measures to allow Nepalis living abroad to exercise their voting rights. In accordance with the Supreme Court's order, the EC has prepared to discuss with legal experts to provide suggestions on this topic. A strong earthquake struck Russia's far eastern Kamchatka region, prompting a series of tsunami warnings in the region, but despite waves reaching the shore, there were no reports of damage. The U.S. Geological Survey said the quake was measured at a magnitude of 7.8 and at a depth of 10 kilometers, followed by a series of aftershocks measuring up to 5.8. Russia's Emergencies Ministry said the quake had a magnitude of 7.2, but later revised that figure up to 7.8. Governor Vladimir Solodov said all emergency services had been placed on a state of high readiness, but that no damage had been reported. A tsunami warning was issued for the eastern shore of the peninsula, jutting far out into the Bering Sea and Pacific Ocean. Other officials reported tsunami waves of 30 to 62 centimeters at various points along the coast of the peninsula.